back to OpenLine. We have with us Joe Woolley, CEO of the Nashville LGBT Chamber, talking about all kinds of issues and really getting a sense of what the chamber is and the role up at the legislature and in recruiting businesses. So there is a Nashville chamber. Is there a Tennessee chamber?
There is not. We're the only LGBT chamber in the state. And we have thought about going statewide. Memphis and Chattanooga have both expressed interest in starting LGBT chamber. We've gone down numerous times and talked with them. We go back to them and say, why haven't you done it? And it's the lift to get it going. All of the things that go into creating a new organization. We've looked at expanding and going statewide, becoming the Tennessee LGBT Chamber of Commerce, and there is a real desire for that. Blue Cross Blue Shield, Volkswagen, Unum in Chattanooga, FedEx, AutoZone, go down the list of other corporate members in Memphis, Discovery Network out of Knoxville. There are several LGBT-owned businesses in the Tri-Cities. There is a desire to join an organization like ours statewide. We would have we'd speak more loudly at the state level than we do in Nashville. Again, those legislators that we need to reach see it in our name, not only LGBT, but also Nashville, and say, I don't need to listen to them or talk with them. I don't care about Nashville. A Tennessee chamber, I would hope they would care a little bit more about. So
that's interesting. So that's something that may be coming, but it's not. Yeah. It's not here now. Yeah. Let's go to Reverend Fuzz. Reverend Fuzz, thank you for holding. What's on your mind?
Hey, Dan. And this is the first time I've heard of the LGBT chamber, and I'm learning so much tonight because I've had such a hard time putting together LGBT. Just kind of remembering what are those letters, and so don't take for granted that we know it. I'd like to get to spell that out. the L, the G, the B, the T. I'm going to admit, I don't know. And then what I see a lot of groups, good people in Nashville. I'm a proud member of the Nashville Chamber and the Hispanic Chamber. But there are a lot of good organizations and groups out here and people with their ideologies. And y'all do this segregating stuff into your own circles. I'm saying, wouldn't you be really, I know a lot of gay friends, and they're some of the most affluent people in our community, some of them. But wouldn't we have a good impact by people integrating? Like, are you a member of the Nashville Area Chamber of Commerce? And you could be a member of the Hispanic Chamber also, and a member of the African American, I think it's a Black Chamber of Commerce. It is. And I'm just saying, what about all the organizations out here, some of them that, don't understand, you get to take them and teach them by meeting you flesh to flesh and face to face rather than just on television, that if you are on a committee at the Nashville Chamber of Commerce or other people who are from the LGBT community, were members and integrated into, like, my church and different organizations out here that have a different view than you, that when y'all start showing up at each other's meetings, I bet that's going to change. It's going to help anyway. And what % of people are in the LGBT community? Is that 10%, 3%, 25%? What do you think? Thank you, Dan, for giving me all this time.
Well, I appreciate all the questions. You're right. We should spell out LGBT. So that means what?
It is an awesome question. All of those were great questions. And so this first one, and I want to make sure I touch on all of them. The first question is actually what I speak to corporations about when I go in and talk. I think last year I talked to 64 corporations, big-sized businesses. I'll go in and speak to their employee resource groups or their leadership and different community groups. We do a diversity bus tour. We're part of that. We're really one of the organizations that represents the community. And I always start off with, there's not a bad question. I'm going to assume good intent. I'll know it when I hear it. Though all of that was great intent, and he asked some wonderful questions. That LGBT is the number one thing that we talk about. We found that people are very uncomfortable using the term LGBT, and then you add the Q, and they kind of get lost, and they're worried they're going to use it in a wrong way, and that you're going to offend somebody. If you're trying, if you mix up the letters, I get BLT, it rolls together like much better than LGBT. BLT is commonly said. I know what they're saying, I understand that. LGBT, lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender. Sometimes you hear Q, which used to stand for questioning, another term for bisexual. And now, especially with, now Q represents queer. And queer is an interesting word. We are the LGBT Chamber. We have not added the Q, and we do that for two reasons. One, when you certify a business, it has to be LGB or T. It can't be anything else on the spectrum of identities within the community. You can't define queer because by definition it is kind of undefinable. The other reason we don't use it is because we survey our members every year, and you ask them, do you find the term queer offensive or as an identifier? And overwhelmingly with our members, it is seen as offensive. All the national data that I've seen shows around 35 years of age, queer goes from being an identifier, I'm queer, I live in the queer community, identify as queer, to that's what I was called on the playground. It is disparaging, don't call me that, it's an attack word, it's a bad word. So even within the community, we're having this conversation around labels and identifiers and terms. We are not one cohesive group that all think alike. Speaking to the other groups of business organizations in Nashville, but really just in Nashville, when you think about LGBT people can be marginalized of marginalized groups. So a black LGBT person is a marginalized person. Same thing goes with a Hispanic LGBT person. You can be marginalized and then marginalized again in another group. One of the things that we've done, and we work very hard to do it, is the collaboration with other minority chambers. 2 years ago, we were put in the Metro budget to receive $25,000 from Metro to help build our small businesses to be certified, to be registered with Metro, to do business with Metro. The other 3 minority chambers as well got that same grant to do that same work. The Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, the Tennessee Latin America Chamber of Commerce, and the Black Chamber. Since getting that grant, we have worked together so closely. We had compacts that we'd signed, and we worked together somewhat. Now we're sharing our programming, our educational opportunities with each other. We're collaborating in more ways. It's incredible what it's done. And all of us have been able to increase our small businesses ready to do business with Metro. And that is great work. But collaboration is key. The LGBT community is also the most diverse community. Like, we're in every other community. We're in every other race, religion. LGBT people are everywhere. They're in every group. And we think around numbers, they think 3% of the population could be LGBT. I've seen that number much higher as it becomes more and more mainstream, as LGBT people are everywhere, as you're getting to know them. If you look at the movement, look at where we were 10 years ago. In just a decade, same-sex couples can be married. Everybody knows an LGBT person. They're part of your family. Well, I will correct that. Everybody knows a gay or lesbian person almost. We're in your family, you know them. Transgender individuals are going through their process of educating more and more people. And if you look at the bills being filed in the Tennessee Legislature, the majority of them attack transgender individuals. And that is because we as a community need to do a better job educating and introducing transgender people to the legislators that are legislating against them. And I really think this is the next wave of work that we all have to stay focused and work together on, is transgender rights and transgender issues.
You say you go and you speak to lots of different groups, you get lots of different questions. What is kind of the biggest misunderstanding, or what are some of the bigger questions? Reverend Fuzz hit on a few, I guess, but what kind of stands out when you go? What are some of the big questions?
That LGBT acronym one, and queer.
Right.
Can I use queer? Is queer okay to say? And I say, if you are LGBT, you can identify as queer. If you are straight, I would not use the term. is my advice. That's literally the number one question I get asked. And then how can you? And then we focus on workplace. So how do I show support? How do I, as an ally, show support broadly to the LGBT community and let people know that I am with them, that and corporations have taken that on, and that's the number one thing that we work with them on, is employee resource groups, which are groups that they create within their company to help. They have Black employee resource groups, LGBT, women's, Hispanic, veterans, and it's a way for you to connect and show support for that group within your company.
And it's interesting what Reverend Fuzz was asking there. He's asking, I think, if you isolate yourself, are you as effective as if you were just assimilated in? And that's an interesting way to look at it, and I guess you could ask that about a lot of groups. You kind of answered that, but again, what are you saying there? You don't feel like you're isolating, right? Is there a time when there wouldn't be a need for an LGBT chamber?
There will be a time. I look forward to that time. My favorite story around that is Sean Henry, the CEO of the Nashville Predators. The Nashville Predators 4 years ago started Predators Pride Night. We helped them get it going. Coming up in the end of February 18th, we're doing our 5th annual. Each year the Predators go bigger and bigger on their Pride Night. They are being recognized by the NHL and nationally for how they do Pride Night. Sean Henry, the CEO, comes in and speaks to us every year. And last year he came in and he goes, I'm happy y'all are here, but man, I'd really like to not have this be here tonight. And I was like, what's going on? What's he saying? And he goes, because someday I hope that Pride Nights aren't needed, that every Predators fan feels like they are accepted and welcomed at any Predators game, and we don't have to do what we do on Pride Night to make you feel welcome and accepted. That's my goal for not having an LGBT chamber, is that we don't have to worry about these issues, that LGBT people are not under attack at the state level, that we and all other marginalized communities are treated fairly across the board when it comes to business, when it comes to procurement, when it comes to rights, and all the other privileges that are out there that some are experiencing, but not all.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. All right, we're going to take a break. If you want to call in, there's the number, 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. Take a break. Be back right after this.